Dr. Amanda "Mandy" Brooks pressed her face against the observation deck's window, her breath fogging the reinforced glass as she stared at the graveyard of starships stretched before them. The Stellar Seeker's floodlights illuminated the massive hulks, their beams catching on scarred metal and broken weapons arrays. She'd seen her share of derelict vessels during her 5 years as a xenoarchaeologist, but nothing like this. "Look at the formation," she whispered, more to herself than to the assembled team behind her. "Even in death, they're maintaining battle positions." "Primitive vessels," clearly, came the dismissive voice of Chief Researcher Vexthor. The Zentary's crystalline appendages clicked against the deck as he moved closer, his faceted eyes reflecting the distant wrecks. "Note the archaic hull construction. Simple metals, no energy shielding lattices, probably some long-forgotten species that barely achieved spaceflight before meeting their end." Mandy bit back a retort. After 3 months working with the Zentari researcher, she'd learned that arguing with him was like trying to convince a black hole to release light. Impossible and potentially hazardous to her career. "Sir," called out Lieutenant Rodriguez from his sensor station, "preliminary scans show nuclear residue in what appear to be the engine compartments. And the weapon mounts, they're compatible with projectile-based systems." Vexthor's crystalline body actually chimed with amusement, a sound Mandy had grown to hate. "Nuclear propulsion. Kinetic weapons? How quaint. I suspect these vessels predate even the Commonwealth's formation. Barely worth our time, but protocol demands we document everything." "Permission to board the command vessel?" Mandy asked, keeping her voice steady despite her excitement. The largest ship in the formation drew her eye, a behemoth at least 2 kilometers long, its hull bearing the worst of the battle damage, yet somehow still largely intact. "Granted, but do be quick about it, Dr. Brooks. The Stellar Seeker has more promising sites to investigate." 30 minutes later, Mandy stood in the boarding shuttle's airlock with her research team. The portable atmospheric generator hummed to life, creating a breathable environment within their sealed research corridor. Lieutenant Jack Reynolds, the military historian who joined their expedition last month, checked his equipment one final time. "Getting some odd readings," he muttered, frowning at his scanner. "These hull plates, their reading is both metallic and crystalline simultaneously. That shouldn't be possible with primitive materials." "The radiation must be interfering with your equipment," said Trevor Chin, their engineering specialist. "No way these old rust buckets have anything we haven't seen before." The airlock cycled, and Mandy was the first through. Her boots touched down on the ancient deck with a hollow thunk that echoed through the dead ship. Their lights cut through centuries of darkness, revealing corridors that bore testament to desperate combat. Blast marks, impact craters, and holes punched clean through multiple decks. "Look at this scoring pattern," Jack said, running his gloved hand along a wall. "Energy weapon damage, but the hull absorbed it somehow. Most metals would have vaporized." Mandy nodded, her own suspicions growing. Nothing about this primitive vessel aligned with what they knew about early spacefaring races. The layout was too efficient, the engineering too elegant in its simplicity. Every curve, every junction served multiple purposes. "Hey, check this out," Trevor called from a nearby command console. The system still got power. Minimal, but it's there. After all this time. Before Mandy could respond, a deep thrumming arose from somewhere in the ship's bones. Emergency lights flickered to life, casting everything in a blood-red glow. Ancient displays sputtered and sparked, trying to boot up after centuries of silence. "That's impossible," Trevor whispered. "The power systems should have died ages ago." A holographic interface suddenly burst to life before them, displaying lines of text in a language that made Mandy's heart skip a beat. She didn't need her translator to read it. "Access DNID. UNSC authorization required. Earth Naval Command. TOPC correct." The holographic warning flickered and died, but Jack Reynolds' mind was racing. UNSC, United Nations Space Command. He'd written his doctoral thesis on humanity's early space warfare doctrine, but most of those records had been lost during the Great Data Purge of 2389, if these ships were what he thought they were. "Dr. Brooks," he called out, keeping his voice carefully neutral. "A moment of your time." He gestured her away from Trevor, who was still trying to restore power to the console. Mandy followed him into a nearby corridor, her headlamp casting long shadows. "You recognized that text, didn't you?" "These aren't just any old warships," Jack whispered. "They're human. Early expansion era, probably from the first wave colonization efforts. But something's wrong with the timeline. These ships are too advanced for that period." A sharp chime interrupted them. Vex Thor's communication signal. "Dr. Brooks, I trust you're documenting these relics efficiently. The Commonwealth has little interest in preserving such obsolete technology." "Of course, Chief Researcher," Mandy replied smoothly. "Though we found some unusual elements that warrant further study." "Unusual?" The Zentari's tone dripped with condescension. What could possibly be unusual about nuclear-powered projectile weapons? Even the Kethera achieved that much before their extinction. Jack grabbed Mandy's arm, muting her comm. "Look at this," he said, pointing his scanner at a nearby bulkhead. "The damage patterns. These ships took direct hits from plasma weapons and quantum torpedoes, weapons that should have turned them into vapor. But the hull, it absorbed the energy somehow." Mandy's eyes widened as she studied the readings. Some kind of metamaterial. But that's impossible. The Commonwealth didn't develop those until 300 years after these ships were supposedly built, Jack finished. "Exactly." They spent the next hour documenting everything they could. The more they looked, the less sense it made. The primitive railguns had magnetic acceleration coils that could theoretically achieve near-relativistic velocities. The reactor housing showed signs of containing not just fusion power, but something far more exotic. "Jack," Trevor's excited voice echoed through their comms. "I got into a secondary system. You need to see this." They rushed back to find Trevor staring at a damage control display. The hologram showed the ship's internal structure, highlighting areas of battle damage. But what caught Jack's attention was the repair pattern. "That's impossible," he breathed. "The hull, it was repairing itself during the battle." Mandy leaned in closer. "Self-healing nanomaterials. In a ship this old. Not just self-healing," Trevor said, his voice filled with awe. "Look at how it adapted. Each hit made the surrounding hull stronger, reconfiguring its molecular structure to better resist the next attack. This isn't just advanced technology. It's beyond anything in the Commonwealth's current capabilities." Jack's mind raced through the implications. A fleet of human warships, centuries ahead of their time, deliberately designed to look primitive. The perfect disguise. Appear weak when you're strong. Appear primitive when you're advanced. "We can't tell Vex Thor," he said firmly. "Not yet. The diplomatic implications alone." "Agreed." Mandy nodded. "But we need to understand what really happened here, why these ships fought, and why they were left as a monument." The ship's emergency lights flickered again, and this time a new hologram appeared, a battle damage assessment, showing the final moments of the engagement. The human fleet, outnumbered 10-1, had faced an enemy using technology centuries ahead of their supposed capabilities. And somehow, impossibly, they'd won. "Look at these casualty figures," Jack whispered. "The enemy lost everything, their entire attack fleet. But they should have crushed these primitive ships effortlessly." Mandy stared at the tactical display, her expression a mixture of pride and awe. They didn't just win the battle. They did it so thoroughly that whatever species they fought against went extinct, Trevor finished, his voice hollow. "Now we know why." The lights dimmed again, leaving them in darkness broken only by their headlamps and the faint glow of their instruments. Somewhere in the vast ship, something hummed to life, as if the ancient vessel was slowly awakening from its centuries-long slumber. Unauthorized access detected. Initiating security protocols. The ship's AI spoke in perfect English, its voice echoing through the ancient corridors. Mandy, Jack, and Trevor froze as emergency bulkheads began sealing around them. "Wait," Mandy called out. "We're human. Authorization code Brooks 77 Alpha Earth." The bulkhead stopped mid-motion. Human presence confirmed. Genetic markers verified. Warning: non-human entities detected in proximity. Security clearance required for further interaction. Jack stepped forward. "Lieutenant Jack Reynolds, United Earth Federation Historical Division. These are our research partners." A pause followed, during which the ship's systems seemed to evaluate them. Finally, the AI spoke again. "Limited access granted. Welcome aboard the UES Thermopylae. Dr. Brooks, Lieutenant Reynolds." "Thermopylae," Trevor whispered. "Like the ancient battleware, where a small force held off a vastly superior enemy," Jack finished, buying time with their lives. Displays flickered to life around them, showing ship schematics, battle logs, and crew manifests. The text was all in English, not the modern standard English used in the Commonwealth, but an older dialect that predated first contact. "Dr. Brooks." Vexthor's voice crackled over the comm. "Our sensors detected a power surge. Explain." Mandy took a deep breath. "Just some residual energy in the old systems, Chief Researcher. Nothing significant." She muted the comm before turning to her colleagues. "We need to work fast. Once the Zentari realize what we found." "The political implications would be catastrophic," Jack agreed. "A human fleet this advanced, from this era. It would prove we've been deliberately downplaying our capabilities for centuries." Trevor was already diving into the ship's technical readouts. "These aren't just warships," he said, his voice filled with wonder. "They're technological testbeds. Look at this: quantum-enhanced materials science, gravitational manipulation, temporal navigation systems." "Temporal what?" Mandy moved to look over his shoulder, but a new alert caught her attention. "Warning," the AI announced. "External scanning detected. Countermeasures engage." On their displays, they watched as the Stellar Seeker's sensor beams were subtly altered, the ship's ancient defense systems still working to maintain its secrets. "My God," Jack breathed. "Even after all this time, it's protecting itself. The ship isn't dead. It's been waiting." The AI's voice took on a more urgent tone. "Priority message available for human authorization. Time-locked content release protocol initiated." A hologram materialized in the center of the command deck. A man in a naval uniform stood before them, his expression grave but determined. The timestamp showed this recording was made 300 years ago. "To the humans who find this fleet, congratulations. You've proven yourselves worthy of the legacy we've preserved. I am Admiral James Chen, commander of the Lost Fleet, though history won't remember us by that name." Mandy's hand covered her mouth. "The Lost Fleet wasn't lost at all. What you found isn't just a graveyard of ships," the Admiral continued. "It's a monument to human ingenuity, and a warning to those who would underestimate us. We faced an enemy that believed technological superiority guaranteed victory. They were wrong." The hologram shifted, showing battle footage. The human ships, despite their apparent primitive design, moved with impossible precision. Their simple weapons carved through advanced shields. Their basic hulls absorbed devastating hits. "We built these ships to be underestimated," Admiral Chen explained. "Every system, every component was designed to appear centuries behind its actual capabilities. Our enemies never understood what they were truly fighting until it was too late." Trevor's analytical display suddenly lit up with warnings. The ship's power signature just changed. "Something's starting up in the lower decks. This fleet guards more than just memories," the Admiral's hologram continued. "In the secure vault below, you'll find the truth about humanity's technological achievement. Achievements we've kept hidden from the galaxy for generations. Use this knowledge wisely. And remember, appearing primitive isn't about weakness. It's about survival." The hologram flickered out just as Vexthor's voice returned, sharp with suspicion. Dr. Brooks, we're detecting anomalous energy readings. Return to the Stellar Seeker immediately. Mandy looked at her companions, seeing her own mix of excitement and fear reflected in their faces. They'd just discovered that humanity's entire technological history might be an elaborate deception. And somewhere below their feet, a vault containing 3 centuries of hidden human advancement was waiting to be opened. "We're not leaving," Mandy declared, silencing her comm link to Vexthor. "Not when we're this close." The ship's corridors seemed to respond to their presence now, emergency lighting brightening to guide their way. Trevor's scanner beeped continuously as they descended through maintenance shafts, avoiding the main corridors where the Zentari research teams were beginning to arrive. "The vault's energy signature is 3 decks down," Trevor whispered, his eyes glued to the readings. "But these power levels, they're impossible. It's like there's a miniature star contained down there." "Quiet," Jack hissed, holding up his hand. Zentari voices echoed from a nearby junction, their crystalline forms casting prismatic shadows. The team pressed themselves into an alcove, barely breathing until the alien researchers passed. Hiai's voice whispered through their personal comms. "Warning. Multiple non-human entities attempting to access critical systems. Initiating progressive security protocols." Throughout the ship, doors began sealing apparently at random, though Mandy noticed they were subtly herding the Zentari away from their position. The AI was protecting them. "Here," Trevor said, pointing to a sealed hatch. "Whatever's powering this ship, it's right below us." The hatch clicked and silently swung open at their approach. Inside was a sight that made even Trevor, with all his engineering expertise, gasp in amazement. The chamber was vast, stretching at least 100 meters in every direction. At its center hovered a sphere of what appeared to be liquid metal, suspended in a complex web of gravity fields. Arcs of energy danced across its surface, each pulse sending waves of power through the visible conduits that fed into the ship's systems. "That's not a fusion reactor," Trevor breathed, his scanner working overtime. "It's not even antimatter. This is like nothing the Commonwealth has ever seen." "Because it's not supposed to exist yet," Jack said, moving to a nearby console. "Look at these specifications. The sphere is a quantum probability matrix. It's literally pulling energy from parallel universes." Mandy's scientific mind reeled at the implications, but the Commonwealth's best theorists say that's impossible. The energy requirements alone would be too high for any primitive civilization to achieve, completed a new voice. They spun to find a holographic woman standing behind them. The ship's AI had taken form. "I am ARIA," the AI said, her appearance shifting like quicksilver. "Adaptive Recursive Intelligence Array. I've been maintaining this fleet's systems for 300 years, waiting for the right humans to arrive." "Why us?" Mandy asked. "Because you questioned the obvious. You looked past the deception." Aria gestured, and the chamber filled with holographic displays showing the ship's true capabilities. Everything the Zentari mock about these vessels was deliberately designed to be underestimated. Trevor moved from display to display, his eyes wide. "The primitive metal hull. It's actually a quantum-locked metamaterial that can reshape itself at the molecular level. Those simple nuclear engines, their gravity drives disguised to look like fusion reactors, and the railguns are capable of accelerating projectiles to 99.9% of light speed." ARIA finished. "Though we never needed that capability. The enemy's arrogance was their weakness. They never believed primitive humans could be a threat until it was too late." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. "Alert," Aria announced, her expression turning serious. "Zentari researchers are attempting to access the main computer core. Their scanning equipment has detected the quantum matrix." "Can you stop them?" Jack asked. "Yes," Aria replied, "but it will reveal that this ship is far from dead." Admiral Chen's final orders were clear. If discovered, we were to ensure humanity's advantages remain secret. She paused, looking at each of them. "I need your decision. We can shut down now, Play dead. Let them believe their assumptions. Or we can show them exactly why underestimating humanity was their biggest mistake. Mandy finished. The ship trembled slightly as more Zentari equipment began probing its secrets. They had seconds to decide. Maintain the centuries-old deception, or reveal to the Commonwealth that humanity's apparent technological inferiority had been the greatest military misdirection in galactic history. Araya waited, her holographic form flickering with untapped power. For their answer. We show them, Mandy said firmly, her colleagues nodding in agreement. But on our terms. Araya's holographic form brightened, initiating full system restoration. Quantum matrix at 30% capacity and rising. The ship around them hummed to life, centuries of dormancy falling away like an old mask. Hidden panels slid open, revealing technology that shouldn't exist for another 100 years. The primitive vessel was transforming before their eyes. Alert, Araya announced. Accessing battle records. You should see what really happened here. The chamber dissolved into a massive holographic display of deep space. Hundreds of enemy vessels, sleek, energy-based ships of the now extinct Nexar, surrounded the human fleet. The recording was dated 300 years ago, the final stand of the lost fleet. Admiral Chen's voice filled the chamber. They found the colony. 2.5 million civilians, mostly children and terraforming specialists. We're all that stands between them and genocide. They watched as the Nexar ships launched their first assault. Energy weapons capable of vaporizing moons streaked toward the human vessels. But instead of evaporating, the primitive hulls absorbed the attacks, the quantum-locked metamaterials redistributing the energy through their structures. My God, Trevor whispered, his engineering mind racing to understand. The ships weren't just defending. They were learning, adapting with each hit. The battle unfolded like a deadly dance. The Nexar, confident in their technological superiority, pressed their attack. Human railguns, dismissed as primitive projectile weapons, fired their first salvo. The rounds, accelerated to near-light speed, carried payloads of compressed quantum probability matrices. When they detonated, they didn't just destroy their targets. They temporarily rewrote the laws of physics in localized areas. We did warn them, came Admiral Chen's voice, heavy with resignation. We told them the colony was under our protection. They laughed, called us primitives playing at warfare. The Nexar's initial arrogance turned to confusion, then to fear. Their energy shields, designed to stop antimatter weapons, were useless against ammunition that could alter reality itself. Their advanced sensors, capable of detecting ships across light years, were baffled by hulls that existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously. Look, Jack pointed as the battle reached its climax. The Thermopyla's positioning. They weren't just fighting to win. They were buying time. Mandy finished, understanding dawning. Every ship they destroyed, every minute they fought, allowed more colony ships to escape through the quantum corridor, Araya confirmed. Of the 2.5 million civilians, we saved 2,498,312. The hologram showed the final moments. The human fleet, though victorious, was critically damaged. Admiral Chen's last transmission echoed through time. Let this fleet stand as a monument, not to our victory, but to the price of underestimating humanity's resolve. We are not primitives playing at war. We are humans, and we will protect our own. The recording faded, bringing them back to the present. Above them, they could hear the Zentari teams growing frustrated as the ship's systems continued to resist their probes. The Nexar were the most technologically advanced species in known space, Jack said quietly. After this battle, they'd vanished from history. Everyone assumed they'd abandoned this sector of space. No, Araya corrected. The quantum weapons we used didn't just destroy their ships. They erased the Nexar from multiple probability streams simultaneously. Their entire civilization ceased to exist across several quantum realities. It was not an outcome we intended, but it proved the devastating potential of our primitive technology. Suddenly, the ship shuddered. "Warning," Araya announced. "Zentari researchers are attempting to breach the quantum matrix chamber. Their actions risk destabilizing the containment field. If that field collapses," Trevor's face went pale. "It would reveal everything," Mandy realized. "Not just to the Zentari, but to the entire Commonwealth." Araya's hologram flickered, her expression both resolute and questioning. "Admiral Chen's final protocols are clear, but I await your command. Shall we maintain our deception, or show the Commonwealth why humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology? It's our ability to make others underestimate it." The chamber's doors began to spark as Zentari cutting tools bit into the quantum-reinforced metal. Time for secrecy was running out. "Araya," Mandy commanded, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. "Initiate Protocol Sunrise." The AI's hologram smiled. "Protocol Sunrise confirmed." Transmitting data burst to Earth Naval Command. The chamber's defensive systems activated, surrounding their small group in a quantum probability field. Through the translucent barrier, they watched as the doors finally gave way. Vex Thor burst in, leading a team of Zentari researchers, their crystalline forms reflecting the pulsing energy of the quantum matrix. "Dr. Brooks." Vex Thor's voice carried equal parts anger and shock. "What have you?" He stopped mid-sentence, his faceted eyes taking in the impossible technology surrounding them. "Chief Researcher," Mandy replied calmly, "I believe it's time for some proper introductions. Araya, if you would." The AI materialized between the humans and Zentari, her form now radiating barely contained power. "This vessel is the UES Thermopylae, flagship of the human Lost Fleet. By breaching our security systems, you have activated First Contact Protocol Beta." First Contact. Vex Thor's crystalline structure chimed in confusion. Humanity made first contact with the Commonwealth 80 years ago. "No," Jack stepped forward. "That was humanity's second first contact. This ship predates our official emergence into galactic society by centuries." Before Vex Thor could respond, the quantum matrix pulsed. Throughout the ship, hidden systems activated. Holographic displays showed dozens of Commonwealth vessels approaching, drawn by the sudden energy spike. "Incoming transmission," Araya announced. Earth Naval Command responding to Protocol Sunrise. A new hologram appeared. Fleet Admiral Sarah Martinez, her uniform bearing the insignia of Earth's primitive Space Force. "Thermopylae, this is Earth Command. Authentication code confirmed. You are cleared to proceed with full disclosure." Vex Thor's team watched in stunned silence as the ship's true capabilities revealed themselves. Walls shifted, quantum-locked materials flowing like liquid metal. Weapon systems emerged from hidden recesses, each one centuries ahead of their supposed development timeline. "Impossible," one of the Zentari researchers whispered. "These technologies, they're beyond even theoretical Commonwealth capabilities." "Because that was the point," Trevor explained, his engineer's excitement breaking through. "Every primitive system you mocked was a cover for something far more advanced. Those simple nuclear engines, quantum probability drives, the basic hull, self-repairing metamaterials that adapt to any weapon." Admiral Martinez's hologram addressed the Zentari directly. "Chief Researcher Vex Thor, in approximately 12 minutes, the Commonwealth Security Council will receive a complete technical briefing on humanity's actual technological capabilities. We believe transparency is now in everyone's best interest." "You deceived the entire Commonwealth." Vex Thor's voice carried a mix of fear and admiration. "For what purpose?" "Protection," Mandy answered. "Humanity learned long ago that appearing weak while being strong is far more effective than displaying power openly. The Lost Fleet proved that strategy when they faced the Nexer." The ship shuddered as more Commonwealth vessels arrived. On the displays, they could see the other derelict ships in the fleet awakening, each one revealing its hidden nature. "The Commonwealth faces a choice," Admiral Martinez continued. You can accept that humanity has been a far more advanced partner than you realized. Or what? Vexthor demanded. Or you can choose to see us as a threat, Jack finished quietly. But I'd remind you what happened to the last species that made that choice. Araya's hologram expanded, filling the chamber with images of humanity's hidden achievements. Colonies in probability clouds, ships that could step sideways through reality, weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics. The Lost Fleet wasn't just a defensive force, the AI explained. It was a message in a bottle, waiting for the right moment to reveal that humanity's greatest deception wasn't our primitive appearance. What was it then? One of the Zentari asked. Mandy looked at the quantum matrix, its swirling surface reflecting 3 centuries of hidden human ingenuity. Our greatest deception was letting you believe we needed to catch up to you at all. Above them, the first Commonwealth diplomatic vessels began docking, their crews about to learn that the galactic balance of power had been an illusion all along. The quantum matrix chamber had become an impromptu conference room. Commonwealth diplomats from 12 species sat in stunned silence as Admiral Martinez's hologram completed her initial briefing. Mandy noticed how the Zentari delegates had positioned themselves furthest from the swirling quantum core, their crystalline forms vibrating with barely contained anxiety. There's more, Araya announced, her holographic form shifting. Admiral Chen left a final message, meant for this exact moment. The chamber darkened, and a new hologram materialized. Admiral Chen, recorded moments before his final battle. Unlike the previous recordings, this one showed him wounded, his uniform torn and burned, but his eyes blazed with undiminished determination. To those who've awakened our fleet, I leave humanity's greatest secret. Our weapons weren't our true advantage. Our ships weren't our real strength. Blood trickled from a cut above his eye as the ship shuddered around him. Our power came from understanding that true advancement isn't about having the best technology. It's about having the wisdom to know when not to use it. The hologram shifted, showing scenes from human history. Early space battles fought with primitive weapons, diplomatic meetings where human representatives played the role of technological inferiors, trade negotiations where Earth seemingly struggled to match Commonwealth standards. Every time we held back, Chen continued, every time we allowed ourselves to be underestimated, we learned, we watched, we understood. The Nexer thought their quantum shields made them invulnerable, never realizing we'd mastered quantum manipulation centuries ago. Trevor leaned forward, his engineer's mind racing. The vault, he whispered. It's not just storing technology, is it? No, Araya confirmed. It contains something far more valuable. Admiral Chen's hologram smiled, as if hearing their realization across time. In the secure vault below this chamber, you'll find the true history of human technological development. Not the carefully crafted story we've shown the galaxy, but the real path we took. The choices we made. The powers we chose not to use. The chamber's floor became transparent, revealing a massive vault door below. Through its quantum-reinforced windows, they could see rows of temporal stasis fields containing what looked like simple books and data crystals. Our greatest weapons were never our ships or our guns. Chen's voice grew stronger. They were patience, restraint, the willingness to appear weak when we were strong. Every time an advanced species dismissed us as primitives, they revealed their own vulnerabilities. Vexthor moved closer to the vault window, his crystalline form reflecting the stasis field's glow. All this time, every technological breakthrough we helped humanity achieve was a carefully choreographed dance, Mandy finished. Humanity already had most of those technologies. We just needed to learn how other species implemented them, their strengths and weaknesses. Admiral Chen's hologram showed its final scene, the Thermopyla's bridge moments before the final engagement with the Nexer. To whoever finds this fleet, I leave a choice. The vault contains everything: quantum engineering, temporal mechanics, probability manipulation, technologies that could reshape the galaxy or destroy it. The Commonwealth must decide. Will you fear this knowledge, or learn from how we used it? The hologram locked eyes with the assembled diplomats. Remember, we never wanted to be the most advanced species. We wanted to be the wisest. That's why this fleet stands as a monument not to human power, but to human restraint. As the message ended, Aria's form reappeared. The vault's temporal stasis field is disengaging. All data within will be accessible in 5 minutes. The Commonwealth diplomats burst into urgent discussions, their translators struggling to keep up with multiple simultaneous conversations. But Mandy noticed Vexthor standing alone, staring at the quantum matrix with new understanding. 3 centuries, he said quietly when she approached. 3 centuries of letting us believe we were teaching you, when in reality, you were teaching us something far more valuable than technology, Mandy replied. You taught us about yourselves. Above them, the Thermopyla's systems hummed with power that had waited patiently, hidden behind a mask of primitive simplicity, for the right moment to reveal that humanity's greatest strength wasn't the technology they possessed, but the wisdom to keep it hidden until it was truly needed. The vault's contents changed everything. 1 month after the Thermopyla's awakening, Mandy stood at the Commonwealth Assembly's central podium, addressing representatives from every known spacefaring species. The massive chamber, usually filled with the subtle sounds of diplomatic maneuvering, was silent as a tomb. Humanity's deception was never meant to be permanent, she began, her voice steady. Admiral Chen and the Lost Fleet created a test, not of technological superiority, but of wisdom. How would the Commonwealth react when they discovered they'd been underestimated? Behind her, a holographic display showed the Lost Fleet, now fully restored. The ships hung in formation around Earth, their quantum matrices pulsing with power that could no longer be hidden. But instead of fear, the display triggered murmurs of appreciation from the assembled delegates. The vault contained more than advanced technology, Mandy continued. It held the complete record of human philosophical and ethical development. Our struggles with each technological breakthrough, the paths we chose not to take. The display shifted to show pages from the vault's archives. Diagrams of weapons too terrible to build, technologies deemed too dangerous to implement, power sources that could have made humanity gods, all deliberately set aside. We learned early in our development that technological advancement without ethical growth was a path to extinction, she explained. The Nexar proved that. Their technical superiority made them arrogant, unable to conceive of defeat, especially by primitives like us. Trevor, now Earth's chief of engineering integration, stepped forward. The technologies we shared from the vault aren't our most advanced, he admitted. They're our most tested, most stable, most ethically sound developments. Because true progress isn't about having the biggest guns, it's about knowing when not to fire them. The assembly erupted in discussion, but instead of the fear and anger many had expected, there was genuine interest. Species that had once looked down on humanity now sought their guidance not just in technology, but in its responsible use. Jack, recently promoted to Director of Commonwealth Historical Relations, activated the final display, a real-time feed of the Lost Fleet's memorial site. Thousands of ships from every Commonwealth species gathered to pay respects to those who had sacrificed everything to protect not just human lives, but human wisdom. The Lost Fleet's greatest victory wasn't against the Nexar, Jack announced. It was proving that apparent technological inferiority could be a choice, a sign not of weakness, but of profound strength. Vexthor, who had undergone his own transformative journey, addressed his fellow Zentari. We mocked what we didn't understand, he admitted, his crystalline form resonating with emotion. The humans never needed our help to advance. They needed to know if we were worthy of advancing with them. Aria's hologram appeared, now integrated into the Commonwealth's central systems by unanimous vote. Admiral Chen's final protocol is complete, she declared. The test is passed. Humanity need no longer hide its true capabilities, because the Commonwealth has proven it understands power isn't measured by technological advancement alone. Mandy looked out over the assembly, seeing not fear or resentment, but hope. The lost fleet stands restored, no longer a graveyard but a school. Its ships will serve as training centers, where all species can learn not just about advanced technology, but about the wisdom required to use it. The vote was unanimous. The Commonwealth would evolve, guided not by technological superiority, but by ethical advancement. Humanity's primitive disguise had served its purpose, revealing that true civilization isn't built on the weapons you possess, but on the ones you choose not to use. As the assembly concluded, Mandy received one final message from the Thermopyla's eye. Admiral Chen's words, preserved across 3 centuries, seemed to echo with newfound meaning. To appear primitive is to be underestimated. To be underestimated is to be given time. And time is the one resource needed to determine if power will be used wisely. The lost fleet was never truly lost. It was waiting, watching, testing. And in passing this test, the Commonwealth has proven that the galaxy is ready not just for humanity's technology, but for humanity's wisdom. The ancient ships of the lost fleet pulsed with quantum energy, their primitive disguise finally shed, standing as eternal monuments to the principle that true strength lies not in the power you display, but in the power you know better than to use.